All right, I'll call the meeting to order.
The meeting has been posted according to open meeting laws.
Roll call.
President Seeger.
Here.
Trustee Alexander.
Here.
Trustee Nugent. Here. Trustee Johnson. Here. Trustee Renucci.
Here.
Trustee Smalley is absent tonight, and Trustee Wisniewski.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, make a motion to adjourn to the committee of the whole to discuss items, application, East Troy Chamber of Commerce 2023 East Troy Cycling Classic Bike Race on Friday, June 16th, 2023.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are now in a committee of the whole, or COW as we call it. We'd like to make sure that there's some guidelines understood about why and what we're doing here. This is an opportunity for people to voice their concerns or questions about what's happening with the race. But I do want to make sure that everyone understands that we want to make sure this is a civil conversation. We don't want to get into any discussion back and forth. It'll be answering of questions and presenting your opinions about this. We don't want any grandstanding either. We'll try and keep this to a 5-minute conversation or time at the podium. Everyone that does comment on this, they will come to the podium, push the button, and state your name and address and your comments. So with that being said, who would like to be first? Mike?
Scott, can I mention one thing, though, that so everybody knows that we cannot take any action at a committee of the whole meeting?
Yeah, our actions will be taken after the committee of the whole as an agenda item is posted.
Good evening. My name is Mike Zai. I live at 1950 Fremont Street. I've been a resident of East Troy since 1977, and I want to speak in favor of you supporting the bike race. I have supported it, volunteering a little bit. My family, all my family, my kids come to it. It's a very family-oriented event, and it's just such a unique opportunity to have in our community. And I just see all these families coming, the kids bike race, everything about it is healthy. There are inconveniences for everybody. You gotta, drive a little slower and a little out of your way to get around town a little bit. So I guess that's it. I hope you vote in favor of it. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Anybody else who would like to speak? Yep. Oh, we got one coming from the back first, real quick.
Tom Senf, 2141 Church Street. I'm going to jump off track for just a minute so I can get out of the way for the bicycle people. As a member of the Board of Directors of Oak Ridge Cemetery, which is on Highway 20 across from McDonald's, we have been told that with the highway reconstruction that the town is recommending.
Tom, I'm sorry I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is just to be talking about the bike race at this point. After we talk about the committee of the whole, then we'll have the citizen participation. That's for a
I
regular
thought
meeting.
this was
No,
participation.
this is just committee of the whole for the bike race discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay, just be ready.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Hello, I am Molly Moody. I live at 3015 Clayton Avenue. I'm here today as an individual that is in support of the bike race, but also as a citizen curious to understand what precedent this specific meeting means for anyone trying to do anything in this community in the face of singular adversity to an event. As a resident of Clayton Avenue, the beer tent and the House of Terror bring noise, increased traffic, and decreased accessibility for days and weeks. I do not receive written notification from the village letting me know that the Lions Club will be submitting their permit for the beer tent. And if I were to come to you during public comment when permits were being requested and raise reasonable complaints, would you pause, send posted notification to all residents impacted by the events, and delay their approval, or proceed because of its legacy and the greater positive impact it sheds throughout the community. The bike race is starting its legacy in East Troy. It has been going for a decade. I appreciate and understand the concerns of those that are inconvenienced by the route, but it is a day. Resources are being provided to residents that need additional assistance and time during race day. To the board, I caution your actions to deepen the waves of division that delayed your collective approval of the permits for the bike race, and ask that you outline what exactly prompted you to delay the 2/20 vote to today. Thank you.
So this is not part of citizen participation, so we are able to engage on this. This comes from a number of years of people having questions and maybe emails and or phone calls that a number of the board members have received about the race. It is not an objection to have this meeting at all. This is simply to have an opportunity for everybody in the community to have a discussion. And this is requested for a lot of different topics and not necessarily always granted, but this one seems to be one that fits the model to allow for this back and forth discussion. There's been enough of a tenure that there's been questions and or emails and or phone calls from citizens, both for and against it. So that promotes us to say, yeah, let's take the time and have a discussion about it. It's not negative in any way. It's actually very healthy, because if it's something that the community wants to continue with, then we will be continuing with it. There's no question about it. There's nothing to hide here about it. Just discussion about it. Mhm. We do not. We have not. And because we have not, we wanted to give the opportunity to do so. Again, we're not doing this in a negative connotation. This is simply to allow for everybody in the community to voice their opinions about it and have healthy discussion about it. This is not negative. Just an accumulation of a number of, like I said, discussion points via email, phone conversation, stand in front of people conversations, everything like this. So that's where it's happened. Next person that would like to speak?
Oops, sorry. I'm Sherry Reilly, and I'm the owner of AZ East Troy, the antique shop at 3066 Main Street, directly down the road. And I'm not necessarily for or against the bike race because I'm relatively new, but I'm mainly here to express some questions and some concerns. Last year was our first time being in our space at 3066, and I actually promoted the bike race on our Facebook page. Prior to the event, I was familiar with the map. However, what I was rather surprised about is the day that I arrived at my location in the morning, I saw that there was a complete barricade on West Street, which where my shop is located, that means that no one could go to actually come to my shop. And there was, I mean, typically, as a new business owner, I mean, when I drive around to places where there's barricades, there's usually signage on the barricade that says, still open to businesses beyond the barricade. So I was a little bit concerned already in the morning, so I ended up calling the village, and I was directed to the police. And about 2 hours later, a police officer came. I forget, I don't think it was this gentleman. Somebody on a Segway came up and said, I'm new to this position, I'm not really familiar what's supposed to happen, but going forward, this is something that we should look at. Well, nobody ever contacted me after that, and all he really did was sort of move the barricade a little bit, but there was still no signage. And that particular day, that Friday, I had 0 customers come in at all. And I did my own little private polling, and everybody that I talked to said, we are avoiding coming into the village on this day because there's too much traffic, and we can't do any shopping because the area around the square is closed off. Whether or not that's a concern, and I guess people have said it's only one day, but when we're only open 3 days a week, that's one business day that we don't have. I do think that there potentially could be some things to be done, and that's kind of the questions that I have. So question number one, could there be signage made that says open to businesses on both the east and west end of the village that says open to businesses? Or could there be a volunteer posted at those saying, you definitely can come through, this is how you get through, it's easy, where there's parking, so those kinds of things. Then my other question is, and I'm understanding someone saying that this has been going on for how many years? 10 years? So I have received no notice in the mail, no notice via email, no notice. My question is there feedback done after the event every year to see if it does benefit the community? Is there statistics that say this many people come in? Because I did my own private polling and I have received nobody that came to the bike race came in to buy business. So I'd be curious how many people actually come in or come back because of this event. Yes, I think it's a great way to get notoriety, to get whatever, but if it isn't bringing us business, I'm not sure it's impacting my business. And if I'm almost wanting to be shut down on that day because why bother coming in if no one's gonna come to my shop? So those are my concerns and questions. And again, I definitely think it's great East Troy is a wonderful community. I just joined the Chamber of Commerce. I live over on Lake Beulah. I'm invested in promoting anything that gets people into East Troy, but I think we can do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak? Sure. We can't really, there's not a,
It's for like later reviewing kind of things when you guys are looking at. No. It's basically guidance, I guess. My name is Amber Lamar. I'm at W2596 County Road ES. I stand here today voicing my concerns for the bike race as a resident and as a local employee to a long-term business located on the Village Square. It's been clear by our last meeting, I now understand a huge reason why most people are afraid to speak up and attend these meetings is because people are looked at as complainers. So I'm going to be a voice for them. I believe in empathy and that our village residents deserve that and should be a priority above anything else. I have listened to the board meeting from February 20th multiple times to make sure I heard and understood everything that was said and brought up. I work on the Village Square for a business that's operated for over 59 years. However, I stand here firmly knowing that its troubles that this event has caused us, other business owners, and lifelong residents. Please note, just because I have a voice of concern against the bike race doesn't mean that I myself or the business that employs me is against community events. In fact, we encourage them, and love being involved when we can be. We have a prime location to enjoy these events, but there also is a point when we have to draw a line in the sand and remember what really matters in this community. With a population around 4,000, we need to realize that we are not Milwaukee and Racine and can't accommodate such high level of traffic that keeps residents and workers from going to local businesses as well as holding residents hostage in their own homes. Ever since the bike race has started in the village, I haven't been able to work during the event. The inconvenience and unanswered questions have left our local business no option but to shut down. I don't want to be told one more time that it's just one day and to deal with it. Because yes, that's always been our answer to our questions and concerns. This one day doesn't just affect our business, but also our clients, which is more than enough to be concerned about this one day. Given the square is a particularly busy area, it's wise to review Ordinance Chapter 423, Article 4, Parades and Races, subsection 27F1, if it is for a usage that is to be held on a workday during hours when, and at places where, in addition to proposed usage, the flow of vehicular traffic is usually delayed by its own volume, is a discretionary reason for denial for the permit. In keeping with the same document, subsection G reviews mandatory denial of a permit. Subsection G2 states denial if it is for a usage that is primarily for private or commercial economic gain. Allowing a liquor license for this event also takes away business from our establishments that sell alcohol. Although it might be a fun event with a positive atmosphere for those involved, it is still a business and a for-profit organization. This isn't looking out for our community, which is why this subsection was already intentionally defined by the board. If the bike race is moving forward, one of my biggest concerns is making this event ADA compliant, mainly for our community members, but also those that do enjoy the bike race. Lack of ADA compliance should also be a mandatory violation of the permit based on subsection G3 if it is for usage which would involve violation of federal, state, or local laws relating to use of highways or of other applicable regulations of the village. My family has spoken for ADA rights before in the village. We brought to light the concerns regarding handicap signage on this village square. Thank you to those who took action and rectified this. I have given you all the ADA guide for small towns, and page 18, section K speaks of the concerns of temporary events. This includes having designated parking, signage, and accessibility. I have also provided an in-depth planning guide for making temporary events accessible to people with disabilities. This works through everything from awareness, planning, getting to the event, participation, and available support resources. I have spoken with a representative from the Department of Justice. They recommend if you had any additional questions or need assistance to contact them directly. I have highlighted this for you guys. I hope you take this into consideration when making a final decision regarding the permit. My questions do remain though. Does the board believe the for-profit race is beneficial for local business and community members short and long term? Does the board understand the economic impact shutting down a local business, even for a temporary day, that this has on the business and employees? Upon vote, will the board review both discretionary and mandatory denials of the Article 4? Will the bike race and the village be able to accommodate ADA regulations for temporary events? Is there a designated area of parking for local residents only? Where will this be? How will you enforce this to assure that our residents get the proper designated locations they deserve? And where will the handicap spots be located for our residents? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who would like to speak? Yes.
I gotta push a button here. It's on, okay, hi. My name is Michael Wasney. I live at 2938 Main Street. And I'm on the section that's gonna be closed down. I lived on the Main Street part where you guys is gonna be closed down, so I do have some concerns. I'm glad that at least this year, you're giving us a little bit more notice. Last year I had, 24 hours and I had to cancel out plans for people coming over to my house because they couldn't get there. Thankfully, Vanessa people allowed me to park my vehicle across the street so I could get over there when I needed. But my concerns is safety. Now, according to my driveway was blocked, okay? I don't see why that was necessary. I should have even according to your own statute, you're not supposed to be blocking people's driveways. Now, my wife is disabled. She can't walk very, very well anymore, okay? So if I need emergency, I gotta sit there and try to move barricades and bricks and everything else under the sun to come in. My other neighbors' driveways weren't blocked, so why was mine? So I didn't appreciate that at all. The other thing is, you guys used to have this up on the square, and it's still part of the square, where you had your announcer up there. Well, where you got them located now, you say it's only one day? I couldn't even sit back and enjoy. It was like having this guy with the microphone inside my house. I couldn't even sit back and enjoy watching the news, listening to this guy holler. So I don't understand why you can't keep it up on the square. I didn't have a problem, it was that far away. I mean, you say it's only one day, well, you put up with it for one day. See how you like it. You be inconvenienced. So I don't care, I don't like the location of your announcer. I don't see a problem why you can't go back up on the square where it was. And the other thing, like I said, my concerns, is the safety concern. So you're telling me that if there's a fire, and heaven forbid, that there's some kind of health issues, that I'm gonna have the access to, people are gonna be there right on time, you're gonna stop a race. I mean, I got a concern that, I don't want anything to happen to the people on the bikes. So how quickly you're gonna be able to stop that to get an emergency vehicle up to my house, if that's gonna happen? I'm sure your loved ones, just like mine, comes first. So I am concerned about the safety issues, and I'm concerned about having my driveway blocked, and I'm concerned about having to sit there and listen to a guy all day long talking about this, shouting it over the microphone. If it was over at your house, I don't think you'd appreciate that either. Now, you could put that back up on the square. I don't see why there's gonna be a problem with that, but that's up to you. So that's basically it. I wanna make sure that there's access to safety to my house in case something happens to my wife or myself, and my driveway not to be blocked. And I would like your back on the square, wherever you want to thing, that kiddie court for me, where I got to sit there and listen to somebody all day long. Now, I don't have a problem cleaning up my yard the next day after all, trash and stuff that's thrown over. I'll do that for you people.
Sir, just please remember, you're addressing the board, it's not really, not to address the audience.
Oh, okay, sorry. My apologies. Don't know the routine here. But that's basically it, and I do thank you all for listening to me and listening to my concerns. You have a good day.
Vanessa, is Andrew here today? Andrew, can you come up and just kind of speak on some of those comments, please?
Yeah, I think, so, one of the concerns you had was about.
First, Andrew, can you just introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah,
please?
Andrew Fry, I'm here, representing the Tour of America's Dairyland. My partner Bill Koch is also here with me tonight. One of the concerns that you had was safety and will we stop the race and if, emergency came to your house. If you were to call 911, it's gonna go through the police dispatch. The police have a radio with the race and they know what's going on. If they say, we've got a fire truck coming, we've got an ambulance coming, we shut down the race. We can do that within one lap, so within 1 minute, the race could be shut down. We have a lead vehicle that would slow the race down. We have officials on motorcycles, they could slow the race down. So it wouldn't be unsafe for the riders to stop. So we could stop that race as soon as we get the phone call that an ambulance is coming. Before it's even dispatched out, we would know it, we would be able to stop the race. We've done that once every other year. Luckily, there's not an emergency every race, every day that we have to bring a fire truck in. We've had races where there's been a fire on the course and we've had to work around that. So that is something that's in our safety plans and something that we are aware of and that we do plan for. Another concern that you had was the announcers, and I understand your concern with that. And I'm not sure exactly where your house is. It's probably right before they finish. Yeah, and turning the speakers towards the square where there's more people standing anyways, that is something that we could work on for this year. It might be a thing where, or we only have those speakers out for the last 2 races of the day, where it wouldn't be all day because that's not when our biggest crowds are there. But if there are speakers that would be towards your place, it would just be in the evening for the last 2 hours of the day. It's something that we could discuss about doing. I understand, or even just turn them down for the morning, just because it's loud. I can't remember what other concerns that you had. Sorry. Oh, and your driveway being blocked. Yeah, and the driveway being blocked. So is it probably the barricades that have the signage on it at that point? If it's a barricade that's, yeah. Yeah, no, and that is a rider safety thing. We have that fencing there for rider safety, just so that when they are sprinting, that's like the sprint zone, that we don't have pedestrians coming out in the road. But again, for a safety kind of thing, like if we get a call that there's something coming to your house, we've got staff that would be down there instantly because it's, 100 feet from the start-finish line, 200 feet from the start-finish line. We would get staff down there that would be able to move that fencing, move those bricks out of the way as the fire truck or the ambulance would be getting to your house. So that is a rider safety reason, and that's why we do have those barricades out like that. And I don't know if you have any other questions that you guys had.
I think I might end up calling you up a couple times.
Okay,
So
yeah.
let's just continue with anybody else that has any questions or concerns.
I'm Rich Denhart from the Global Glass, 2884 Main Street on the square. And I just have a question, or I want to get some clarification about road closures close to the route. It's a selfish concern for our business that people have access to our back door. And it looks like, looking at the route, that's entirely possible. But last year there was some problems about people accessing down Church Street to get to Union Street to get to the back of our house. Also, I have a question on whether Main Street, people going down up Main Street will be able to turn onto Church Street, which would also. Sounds like a good idea to me. It's okay. I'm not going anywhere. Yeah, so our store, you can see the little green spots, the square. Our store has the back door on Union Street adjacent to that. So if people could come down Church Street and turn onto Union, they can get to our store. Or if they come up Main Street, turn onto Church Street, and turn down Union Street, they can get to our store. Why?
Yeah, they should be able to come down Main Street and take a right and go north.
Right, but doesn't, according to what I'm seeing, the
No,
race is
you gotta
gonna go
block that.
down Union Street off of Division.
Yeah, but we're further on.
They won't be able to turn back on Main Street going back the other way. They'll have to go down Church the other way.
Right, they'll have to retrack how they got there to get back out again. And some people did that last year. But at the beginning of the race, I couldn't even get out. There was a police car blocking off at School Street, so I had trouble getting home. Eventually, the gentleman moved, and I was able to get out. And I guess they opened it up at another time, and customers were able to access us. And it's just that selfish concern. Nobody comes in the front door during the bike race, except to buy a bottle of water or to ask to use the bathroom, which we don't appreciate. But that's my main concern, is that School Street is not blocked off and Church Street is not blocked off so that people can access the rear of our building. That would be great to know that that's possible.
So Jeremy, so you're saying that we block off that intersection?
Main Street and Mill Street.
Okay, but they could take School Street over.
Well, last year we had it blocked off at School Street and Church Street. We ended up moving it. We block off at Main Street and Mill Street for any cars going west on Main Street up towards the square. It's just a safety thing. It's just more barricades that somebody would have to get through. And then we did have them at School Street and Church Street, like you said at the beginning, but we got a lot of complaints, so we moved it back to Union Street and Church Street. The barricades, we moved them back. I dragged them back. And that's where so people could, and that's probably where we're gonna put them this year, so people could come down Church Street to Union Street from School Street, but I am reluctant to move the barricades that are on Main and Mill, just because I don't want a lot of traffic coming up to where the race is.
I assume that would be a safety reason.
It's a safety reason, yes.
Yeah, you get it straight away, you come into the top of a hill and you don't
Right.
realize, yeah.
Right, and I mean, there's barricades there, plus we had, a big DPW truck on that corner too, just to block any kind of, I just don't want anything to happen, kind of the Waukesha thing, so we're trying to keep barricades out a little further so people can't come in, and I think that's the owner from the antique store, that's why we put it on West Street, because they're really we don't want people coming all the way down. And that's kind of the last area where they can, I mean, they can come down and they can turn onto Beulah and go down Austin Street. There is enough room there, but if we don't have to let cars down there, I don't want cars down there. So it's more of a safety thing.
It'd just be
Could you
really great
click,
if they.
sir, could you click the button?
Yeah, it would be really great if they had access and could, you know, come down School Street or come down Church Street, go onto Union and get to our back door. That would be very helpful for us. Friday is our biggest day of the week, and the 4 or 8 Fridays in June and July are the biggest days of the year for us. So losing one of those days is bad, but I understand, and our regulars understand. If we can tell our regular customers that you can get through the back door, that's all we really need. That's what we would like to be able to do. So,
I'd like to have access, so thank you.
yeah.
But Vanessa, you had something to say? Sorry.
I was just gonna say that is our intention, is to have those businesses, and that's kind of a nice part of the route. Businesses like Magic Touch and Global Glass can access from the back door. But if you see coming down Main, we did have it open so they could get in the cobblestone lot, correct? Because we have parking in the cobblestone lot. Yeah, so they come up Mill and then they can park there. So that whole corner is parking kind of. So it gives, you know, access. But yeah, that was our intention, is to have that open back there. And we did make the shift at some point during the day last year.
But Jeremy, oh, go ahead. Yep.
And we did also have the open to business signs. I'm not sure about the West Street, might have been a new one, but they're on the ones like by Gus's and Frank's, but we can add one over there. We had a lot of new things with a new route that we're gonna address this year.
Vanessa, did you have those signs made?
The open to business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we can make different ones. They're the sort of colors that it's switched now to red, but the old colors are orange, so they're bright orange with black lettering, so they're pretty visible.
And we understand theoretically, people can park and walk to our store, but they're not gonna carry, you know, 230 packs a long distance. That's why they like to be able to come into our 2 parking places that we have in the back of our store. And everybody kind of knows that, so that's why that's important to us.
Jeremy, you can't really see it on this map, but like on the west side there, instead of west, could we do Link? And that's where that, the business owner that was up earlier speaking, her business is right there at the corner of Lincoln.
Yeah, the reason why we put it at West Street is for those cars that were going east on Main Street. We wanted them to turn and go down South Street in case they needed to get to the other side of the square. So that was our detour, is using South Street to Mill Street and then back to Main. So anybody that is using a maps on their phone or whatever, and they're going east on ES, that's the detour that we use. So that's why the barricades are at West Street, because we have a detour sign on there, and it goes down South Street, it crosses over Church to Mill, and then we got the detour signs at Mill and South Street that take them back down to Main Street. So that's why we use that corner.
Anybody else that would like to talk? There you go. Okay.
Jim Surgis, town of Troy. I've been a resident here for over 50 years. I think the square renaissance has been wonderful. I think any resident that's been here for any length of time realizes that. I'm for the bike race. I think it's a wonderful example, especially after what we've been through the last 2-3 years, to see all those kids out there racing, and to see those kids seeing adults staying fit as they grow older and into aging athletes. I just think it's a very good example, and I think it fits in well with what we see happening in East Troy. I just think it's a fun event. I realize it's going to be an inconvenience for some people. I hope one day isn't too bad, and I hope the board and the committee on the whole sees fit to hold the race.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tina Schrader, address W5200 Bluff Road. We're in the East Troy School District. I'm for the bike race. I'm the former director of the Southern Lakes High School mountain bike team, which includes East Troy, McWanago, Whitewater, and Palmyra Eagle. And so this is, even though it's a road race, it's still a bike race, and our team really likes to come out and be in the race, cheer on the racers. It's just really good for the bike team. And I think it showcases East Troy really nicely. The bikers and the visitors are coming from all over. This is, I'm probably gonna get this wrong, but it's at least a 12-day, 20-day bike race. Yeah, and this is just one stop in all over southeastern Wisconsin, so it's pretty cool to have it in our own town. I understand that there's certain restraints for businesses. Hopefully we can figure that out and we can all come to a compromise. Our son has also been on the bike team and doing the race pretty much since it started here, and he's gotten other kids involved, and he just likes to come out to his hometown and race the race. So that's what I have.
Thank you. Anybody else? Concerns, questions? Yes, sir.
I'm Dave Hudick. I'm on 2965 Union Street. I'm right on the race course. I think Jim Surges said it best. I couldn't say it any better. I think the race is a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Verley, W2574, County Highway ES. I am also a member of the mountain biking team. Father of 4 kids. We're new to the area, and as parents, we like that our town supports positive fitness-oriented activities that kids can become a part of. I didn't mind the announcer last year. I thought that his excitement level for the young kids did wonders for their self-esteem. To be riding down Main Street in the stretch and have people cheering for them, and the little medal assembly that they did afterwards, that is still a highlight of my kids' time in East Troy. We are proud of our town. We are happy to live in an area that supports things like this, and we would continue to support the bike race for what it does for our kids.
Thank you. Yes.
My name is Vicki McCone, and I live at 3019 Main Street. I can? Oh, thank goodness. So I understand a little bit about the access to your home. I am not right on the route, but it is challenging getting in and out of the house when you have the bikers going up and down the streets, and you just have to be careful. I understand that. I'm also a business owner, and like Sherry, our business is going to be affected, the shop across the street. So I guess one of my questions is, as far as the announcing booth, I'm just wondering what that looks like, and if I will have to close the shop down that day, or if people will be having access, you know, if we'll be able to have people get into the shop, which is across from the restaurant. I just don't know what that would look like, so I can let my partner know what we should plan for that day. Does anybody know what that would look like? Okay, thanks, Vanessa.
So the bike race has, I guess we have a mix of businesses in our downtown. Some of the businesses have their busiest days of the year during the bike race. Some close. There's a lot of different things. So we used to have the shave shop, and she did like a big outdoor chair, and she put balloons out. She was busy.
With the announcing? Probably will have to.
If I were you, I would open my business, because you're gonna have tons of
Will
people
the
on the
people be able to
square.
actually get in?
So
Yeah, because the shop is right where the big announcing booth is.
so the announcing booth is in the East Troy House, Ivan's parking lot.
Oh, perfect.
So
Okay,
it's not on the
it's not where it
sidewalk or in
was-
the road.
It's not where it was then last
Yeah,
year.
so it's
Okay.
in their lot. So you will have open indoor, and even if you do things, and that's part of the thing about the bike races, it's not just that day, it's about marketing our community to a wider audience that do come back on different days. And so it is a mix, and it will depend on what you do for the day. Like I said, the shave shop doesn't exist anymore, but that's a really good example of, she was.
Moved over, we can get into the door.
Right. She made herself visible, and she was extremely busy. And we have a lot of ideas that we can work with you if you need things of getting people in the door.
I'm pro-bike race. I love it. There's just some logistics that I was concerned of. So you answered that. I don't have to worry about that. Some of my other thoughts, as far as like coming with a solution orient instead of being upset and not wanting to do that. It's just, I know last year we had a lot of people coming into the restaurant needing to use the bathroom, which of course we always say, yeah, go ahead, use the bathroom. But I'm wondering, could we get some more porta potties around to help with that, you know?
That would be Vanessa.
I don't know, could we do that, Vanessa? Yeah. That might help alleviate some of that. My other thought too, when I was listening to some of the people talking, were it would be really nice to know where the barricades are ahead of time so that you can just kind of plan your day. You know, if you want to get out of town, if you need to park your car elsewhere, that would be really useful if you could have that ahead of time so that residents know exactly where those barricades are going to be.
We could even take this map that we have now
Yeah.
and just sketch out some of the areas that are.
Yeah, that would be super helpful, for me. And then even a timeline, kind of like a timeline would be useful also. So those were just some of my thoughts and comments. But I love the bike race, and I love all the energy it brings to town, and people walk away and say how cute that town is, and I want to come back. So thank you. I appreciate all the hard work.
Thanks, Vicki. Yes.
I kind of want to just address some of those questions maybe. We've definitely talked about at the last meeting, Vanessa had talked about where she's going to have parking maps for residents, but I would suggest also that we can send this information out. We do a communication each night before the next day so that riders, each morning, they know where to go, where not to go and stuff. Like, I would suggest that as the community, you guys decide on a spot that is absolutely no racer parking that would benefit businesses or community members who might have some troubles getting close to the race but want to come and view the race, and make it a business-only parking and, somebody with disabilities parking as well, handicap parking spots that are closer to the course or closer to the businesses that we can get to. So I would suggest that we come up with a spot, I don't know it because I'm not local, of where we want to say absolutely no racer parking, but still have 30 spots or something that would be not just for the people who live there, but for people who are coming in that day. So I think that we should do that. More toilets, we can definitely talk about that.
And we did, if you look on the map, the municipal lot is where we use for hand cycling, so we could section part of that off for local ADA use. And then we had a section in the cobblestone lot. It gets really tricky because, like for Mike Wozni last year, I did a big cone with his name on it. People move stuff, and so it gets tricky, but we did have designated resident parking, or not resident, business parking in the cobblestone lot last year, but we can maybe use some barricades and make the signage more clear. People move stuff all the time, but
Right, but if we're told ahead of time where to say absolutely no parking, because we probably didn't even know that it was just like business parking at the cobblestone, so we didn't send out the message the night before. So if we just can work together to get that messaging out, we can get it out to the riders that night, and then it's on Vanessa, who will get it out to the community. And I think some more detailed open for business signs too would be helpful.
Right,
I
and
mean,
one of our parking locations is the former Chester Burns lot, and we have a little more ability to reconfigure that. We can use the grass this year, so we can kind of be a little more imaginative in the way we divvy up sections for residents. It's a little tricky. Last year, we did have sections for residents, but then they move their car, and someone parks in their spot, and they move our cones, but we can do our best to make sure that that's designated.
So the race is on June 16th. You have another scheduled meeting that's chamber to residents on May, is that right, in May?
Yes, May, it's in the packet, and then that.
Was it May 4th? So by that May meeting, can some of these things be solved? Can we have identification of where the barricades will be? Can you have those designations at that point about ADA compliant parking areas and/or resident and business parking only areas? So that at that presentation,
Yeah.
there could be some more discussion about it.
Locations of extra porta-johns?
Sorry, that meeting's May 3rd.
May 3rd, yes, sorry. May 3rd at 6 PM at East Shore Brewery. It's in that letter, but, yeah, and we do have the porta potties. Another thing was moving things to the new location with a start-finish line it was basically like the brewery and East Troy House parking lot. A lot of the stuff on the square park, we're trying to kind of boost the fun activities on the park part, so that will help people understand that there's a bandstand with bathrooms in there as well. But we can boost our porta potties.
I'm looking at like some of the businesses saying a lot of people are coming in to use the bathroom, but they're not really buying anything.
Yeah, and maybe we could even put up some signs like that say porta potties located in the park.
Yeah, and like the businesses that want people in, then maybe we could promote that more, like come in here, because a lot of people do want people coming in. Yeah.
So as this whole thing morphs and maybe the May meeting, you have this figured out, a great map, locations for ADA, locations for business parking, where they're having the barricades, and then also throw in there maybe some potential locations for the porta potties, and have this as a flyer that's maybe at a couple different locations to kind of grab, or handouts from volunteers that are helping in the effort, something like that to help location.
And we do have crossing guards, and they're sort of race ambassadors, and we can kind of have them explain the spots too, which is always helpful, because it's just confusing when you're not
Right,
laying out the map.
And with our course marshals, we can put together a lanyard that would have a map on them, that if somebody says, where is this, then those course marshals would have, just look at the lanyard and there you have it right there, so. It would basically be this map with all those things added to it.
Then I would think too, then Vanessa, you would be able to contact some of the businesses that may have had some issues or concerns to be able to solve those questions and not have a malfunction that maybe could have been, figured out.
Yeah, just to that point, 40, we've had, Ed was here last meeting and had some concerns about the race again. His biggest issue really is communication. Opening that line of communication, maybe having more information at that May meeting, having, like you said, the lanyards, the identification, how to identify things, having those maps ahead of time. 24 hours is not enough time for these people. We need to get this information out a lot sooner. And anybody that has the issues even addressed tonight, if this goes forward at the board level, then maybe individually addressing each one of those issues and making sure that those are addressed.
And I think that, Vanessa is definitely the local person to reach out to, but if you have a question and Vanessa might not have the answer because she hasn't experienced it here yet, one of our other communities has had it. So, if it seems like Vanessa hasn't experienced it before, maybe just, reach out to Toad Guys, see if they have experienced this before and what did they do in another community that was able to alleviate the problem that might be arising.
And we have dealt with a lot of issues, and Mike also brought up the safety issue. We had one of our volunteers actually had a heart attack in the middle of the event, and we were able to have the doctors come from Toad. We got her out safely. The ambulance came. We shut down the road. So we've dealt with a lot of very scary things, and we were able to navigate that. And Toad does have a location that is around a firehouse So they have to open and shut the course. So it's something that for them is, you know, pretty normal practice, being able to do that. I have some letters that I can hand out that have the meeting time. It's right. She asked what time the meeting on the 3rd was. It's in the packet. The packet's just the village permit packet, and that was a letter that is gonna be going out.
So all the materials that you're seeing on the screen are available on the village website. So if you just go to the meetings, you can pull up the agenda.
But I did bring printouts for everybody today, and those will start going out once we have a path forward. We didn't wanna, you know, we have to, yeah. Right. Yes. And that, yeah, is for anybody. Or if like, hey, I want to sign my, you know, the kids race, we have like 200 kids that we're managing. So people can come to that and ask questions about that. They can ask questions about the businesses. It's kind of a catch-all meeting for people to ask questions.
And I think the updated, you know, flyers that you would put together, we could get on our website. Chelsea could post those, so they're available in case that, you know, somebody doesn't get something in the mail.
That would also be showing then the alternative routes to get around too.
So again, this is a committee of the whole. Anybody else have anything they'd like to comment on, questions? Yes.
Hi, my name is Danny Foster, and I live at N9304 Beulah Park Road in the town of East Troy. I also rent office space and work on the square. I'm also our PTO president for the elementary school. I thank the village and the chamber for establishing a meaningful and proactive communication and collaboration here with the community. I'm also a social worker who feels strongly about meaningful engagement in how we plan the services we deliver, but also in the way that we deliver things here in the town. So I think things like this are really important. I look at the bike race though as a parent and getting to see my kids participate in something like that, and it's magical. And I hope that something like this continues and that we can find a solution to meet the needs of the people who live and work along the race route so that we can continue on with business that day and also ensure safety, but also the really great thing that comes with this. I lived in Milwaukee in River West, and they have something called the River West 24, which is a 24-hour bike race. One of their primary checkpoints was outside my front door. It was a really amazing weekend, but also a weekend where I had to figure out how I was going to get to work or get to the library to go to school, purchase some earplugs for at night so I can empathize with the people living along the route. But it was also one of the greatest nights. Moving to East Troy 10 years ago and seeing that type of event here is what has kept me here, what has made me want to raise my family here. So I just really want us to think about the DNA of the bike race and these type of events that we have for our community in a rural community, because it's really rare. And the envy of our neighbors, I hear it all the time from folks in McWanago and the surrounding areas about how unique East Troy is. So I really, really hope that we can work together to find solutions to keep these things here and to continue to grow and create this culture that we have amongst our community. It's something really, really special. So thank you for creating the time and the space for this discussion, and the chamber for continuing this discussion in the future. But I really hope that we don't lose these types of opportunities.
Thank you. Anybody else that'd like to speak? Any questions, comments? I'm only going to say this a couple times. Anybody would like to speak during the committee of the whole meeting? I'm going one more time. Anybody that would like to speak during the committee of the whole meeting? If not, I think we should close the committee of the whole and reconvene. I'll make a motion to reconvene into regular session.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? back in session. All right, citizen participation per Village Resolution 2017-01. Anyone wishing to address the village board during citizen participation will be allowed 5 minutes. Your subject can be anything, whether on the agenda or not. The village board should not engage in a discussion regarding comments because it was not part of a publicly noticed agenda. Upon conclusion of the citizen participation, segment of the members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they are participating in a public hearing or are specifically allowed by a majority vote due to involvement in the agenda item. With that being said, Tom, would you like to speak?
Tom Semp, 2141 Church Street. I want to talk to the board in regard to the Highway 20 reconstruction in regard to Oak Ridge Cemetery. I'm on the board of directors and we have a pretty big concern about it. We were informed by the township, because it is part of the town, not the village, that there evidently is a request, a slight push to want a sidewalk to run on that side of Highway 20. Our opinion is it's kind of a dead-end sidewalk going to the intersection of 20 and ES, which is busy. There's no crosswalks there anyway. In talking with board members on the township does not want the sidewalk. They don't want responsibility for the sidewalk. As it would impact the cemetery itself, the property, who's gonna take care of snow removal? We're not gonna be able to. The township doesn't wanna do it. If you're thinking at all of the village taking care of it, you're adding cost to the taxpayers. The sidewalk itself, there's not much room there. Where would snow be removed to? You can't blow it over to the cemetery. Salt from the highway would be coming on the graves, on the headstones, and do a lot of damage. Drainage itself, if you go and take a look at it, the end of the property that goes towards the railroad, there's a gully there that's probably about 5 feet deep. Along there right now, there are 3 pipes coming from that drainage to keep water away from the cemetery. If that's blocked off, where's the water gonna go? Can't have it flowing into the cemetery. You know, that would just be more problems. Also, without a lot of room there for a sidewalk, if you look at it, there's what I'm gonna call an original old growth tree that's just huge. Personally, I'd hate to see that thing taken down. No way to jog around it for a sidewalk. So, you know, as speaking for myself and for the board, we are against the sidewalk there, especially since we are part of the township and the township does not want it. They don't want responsibility for it, and neither do we. I think it would be a big inconvenience with everything I have stated so far. So I hope you take all of that into consideration. Take a good look at it. Don't just have somebody sitting behind a desk and making the lines on paper and saying this is feasible. There's a lot more than just a design. So, thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else that would like to speak during citizen participation?
Hello, there we go. Jamie, 3036 North Street. I was actually hoping you guys vote on the bike race thing before public participation, but I get that's not how it works. But I wanted to publicly apologize to Edward for referring to him as a complainer. I walk past his house often, probably like almost every day actually, and they seem like great people. I definitely don't want any animosity between us, and I definitely appreciate their involvement in the community. They had a pretty sweet skeleton in October, and you know, that kind of stuff just adds to it. It's like 10 feet tall, and so that's the kind of thing that I love to see here. So just wanted to apologize. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak during citizen participation? Anybody else that would like to speak during citizen participation? If there's nobody, then I will close citizen participation and move on to consent agenda. One motion and a second will approve all the following items. Any item may be pulled from the list and voted on separately.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. On to miscellaneous business. Consideration of granting special event permit for East Troy Chamber of Commerce for the East Troy Cycling Classic on the Village Square on Friday, June 16th. Permit for the bike race on surrounding streets, application for temporary beer license, and all permits are contingent upon a list of requirements.
I guess my question is though, because we didn't have this meeting until just now, with one of the contingencies being dealt with some of the items we talked about tonight. That's not on the listing here.
Well, if anybody wanted to make a motion and approve it, then they could always make that part of their motion, any one of those contingencies. But we're at discussion point about it, so that's what we should do as a board.
I know, I mean, it was in my email was kind of a mixed bag, similar to this evening. A lot of people for it, a lot of people against it. A lot of concerns about, impacts to their business. You look like you want to say something.
I'm trying to formulate something here. I guess what I was going to do is make a motion to approve contingent upon the, what was that $5 word you used, Scott? I'm sorry. What the?
List of requirements?
Yes, and also the completion of the issues, satisfactory completion of the issues that we brought up tonight also at this meeting. So I didn't want to leave anything out, and I don't want to forsake anybody else that's got a business in the village. I want to make sure that that all gets taken care of.
Yeah, we definitely have to do something to accommodate those that are inconvenienced. There's no question about it.
Yeah, we
and that's
can't
kind
have, we can't have a business with nobody showing up that day. So if they're only open 3 days a week and they only get 2 of the 3 days, so we definitely need to get that addressed. I don't know what the plan is to get more business into the community, but we can't have businesses that, some are busy and some are not busy. So I don't know what the chamber can do to help us with that.
I think we need clear signage. I think that was clear from the discussion. I think we need clear signage around parking, prioritizing parking for our residents and our business owners.
Locations of Porta Johns?
Yeah, and we have a number of, we have the whole square closed. So, there's plenty of space available for that, so.
So
I think that
one of the things we talked about was making sure that at that May meeting, that we had these things tidied up as far as, especially as far as like some sort of, at least a draft of a brochure or pamphlet or something that has the enhanced map indicating all those locations of things we just talked about. So I think that should be part of it.
So I'm pretty sure I made the motion with those contingencies. Or at least I'd like to approve it.
I think that one other one would be just identifying that those business owners that came to us tonight,
Yes,
that are having serious struggles with this race and being able to have operation during the race hours, that the chamber at some level does everything they can to accommodate some kind of accommodations for those businesses, whether that's by way of personal attaché to bring people to their businesses, if it's by way of better signage, if it's something to help them continue to be able to do their jobs on a Friday.
Can you make that contact, Vanessa, with those?
And I would like to see a plan with deadlines. So all the things that were discussed tonight, that they are taken care of and addressed by a certain time, whether that be the 3rd of May or whatever. I'm open for ideas, but I don't want some of these things to get lost, or we never got to it. Any thoughts on a deadline date from the board?
I think that the May 3rd would probably be a really good date because it's the time frame when we're expecting to see some kind of map modification, and everything would have to be addressed by that point. Whatever accommodations are made for the businesses within the route that are inconvenienced, concerns of citizens throughout that route individually taken care of. I mean, those are things that have to be done before the deadline. So is that part of your motion?
Exactly.
To clarify, we're stating that you want that done by the May 3rd deadline. Do you guys want this information? Do you want Vanessa to send it to staff? We'll distribute it to the board. How do you want to handle it?
Well, so the May 3rd is, what day of the week is that, Vanessa? It's a Wednesday, so can you have that to us by that previous Friday so that we can look at it as a board before your meeting? Sure, yep, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, we have Monday, May 1st meeting.
And that would be the final approval, right? Or- But we would still have to approve the plan, right?
And say on the 1st of May, if we have that everything in front of us with all of these accommodations made. If we feel like it's not, then we can identify that it's not and make some decisions at that point about what else has to be addressed. I think that's the best way to do it.
And doing it at May 3rd gives enough time to still have a reaction to it.
But they need to sign up with Toad, so that this would be the approval, and then they would move forward from there.
Yes, there's just some contingencies that we have upon an approval if it passes this board at this point. So the individual in the attendance has identified that she's looking for individual business parking for her location. And I think that would be in that whole identification of parking spots. Yes, we could do that.
You're
So-
you're talking about the angle parking on Union Street right behind the businesses.
I think that could be one of those designated areas, Vanessa? Yeah. So this is the one. So let's do this. So we've already made the comment that we will have accommodations for the businesses that are inconvenienced. So outside of this meeting, Vanessa will contact you, or you can contact Vanessa, and you guys can solve it and fix the problem with that location, and also with individual residents within the community as well. Sure. So let's do this real quick. If it was a question for the board, I'd be more than inclined to let you ask, but otherwise, why don't you leave that one for Vanessa at the end, okay?
So,
In the meantime, I'll second 40's motion.
I was just gonna ask, how are we documenting this motion? I'd like to know, just for the record, please.
They've got 2 yellow pads all written up for it.
Can I try? and decipher what 40's motion is. I believe his motion is for all of the requests of this event, A, B, C, and D. D has 4 different contingents upon it. So all of those items would be approved through this motion. And there are additional items that we discussed. Number 1 is by a Thursday before the May 3rd meeting deadline to bring to the board new map that identifies locations of roads being blocked, identifies public and ADA as well as business parking only locations, also locations for temporary restroom area facilities, as well as accommodations for every single business owner and or individual that spoke at tonight's meeting and or by way of earlier communications, direct communication for those accommodations from the chamber. And I keep on saying Vanessa, but Jamie, you got some skin in this too, right? You help her out? You don't do anything with the chamber? Okay, well, we'll find somebody that can.
Okay. Thank you.
I think that's what it is, right? Is that pretty good?
I would like to add, can I add to that? So I think we need to have like a postmortem, like what happened after the race. So I don't know if we have a community discussion about that, but that was one of the requests.
A review.
From the business owners. So what?
Could we?
What?
I would like to see that as a second, well, I can't do it as a second motion or a second. Yeah, but I. And also in 40's motion, there would be some kind of post-race discussion about what the impact financially and emotionally the race had on the community.
Thank you.
Okay. Does that sound about right? Was that what you were saying, 40?
Yeah, it was added, either that, I was gonna make an amendment to the motion, but that's okay.
And that's the same motion that you did second? Yes, okay. So there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There will be a race this year. All right, moving on. Discussion and direction on replacing a police squad. You know, I saw him minutes before that happened. I was gonna joke around with him and pull up and ask him if he wanted a race. I wish I would have done that. I don't think this would have happened. Not the race, but, you know, just say hi.
So as you all know, the 2020 Dodge Charger was involved in an accident last Wednesday. Sean is fine. He's back to work. He came back on Friday, so he's good. The issue, and we might have, I was hoping that we would have heard by today whether they were going to total the squad or not. I still think they're going to. They just haven't made that decision yet. I guess the thing I wanted to come to is I don't know exactly how much the insurance is going to give us. They did send an email to Eileen on Friday and said that they would replace it, but I don't know what that exactly means. And to replace it with what is, I guess, my question, because I was talking to the claim adjuster today, and I don't think from what I understood when I met with him on Friday so he could look at the car, is he's just contracted out by the insurance company. But when I talked to him today, he said, well, I was looking online to find a vehicle comparable to yours, and I can't find any. He said, all the ones I'm finding all have 100,000 miles on them, yours only had 50. So he goes, I don't know what I don't know what the insurance company's going to do and how they're gonna say that they're gonna replace it. So I guess the thing I'm coming to you for is we were supposed to replace the 2019 Ford this year, and I had budgeted 60,000 for that. I guess if we need to, do we just want to replace the Charger and leave that one alone? And if we need extra money, then it's there because I have the 60,000? Or do we want to go through with both of them, and then we'd have to use some money from fund balance if insurance doesn't cover the whole thing.
I'm worried that if we don't do something with replacing it and also replacing the 19, we're going to be in a bad cycle again of having way too many miles on our vehicles. I'm worried about that happening. We need this to be a regular or annual replacement. We've got some discussion coming forward here.
The issue that because technically the Charger was gonna be replaced in 2025, but if we get a newer one, we won't have to, so that's another year that we won't have to budget for a squad.
What year's
Because
the
we're not,
Charger?
but for 2024 would be the year that we don't purchase a squad. We purchase every 4 years, they get replaced with one, so we do 3 years in a row and then we skip a year. So technically, the Charger was supposed to be replaced in 2025, but if we get a new one, I'm not gonna have to replace that then, so it's gonna mess up somewhere along the line.
Why don't we, I mean, I know you were thinking the same thing I was saying. We're going to talk about ARPA money here. I think we figure out with what is the ARPA money to put you back on the right schedule based on whatever insurance doesn't cover. And when you say insurance, by the way, is this the driver's insurance or our insurance?
Our insurance, because the driver did not have insurance.
All right.
So,
Can I just add, I want to explain the insurance
Yeah.
situation. So, because I'm really happy with this new insurance, so I want you guys to understand that this is much better insurance than we had previously. This is not cash value replacement. This is a replacement vehicle. So within a certain age, we get a replacement vehicle. So I did, our concern is that you can't find the Challengers anymore because I think you said they're stopped.
Chargers.
Or Chargers, I'm sorry.
The last year they're making them is this year, or, 2023, and then Dodge is not making them for police anymore. So,
I asked, would they really replace that with an Explorer? Now, our agent said, yeah, he thinks in his opinion, if there's nothing like, they will. But that is what that replacement is. It's not cash value like we're used to within, a certain newness, they will replace the vehicle. They will make us whole.
they say that, but then in looking at the prices of vehicles and how much because the 2022 that we just purchased, I think it came in under the state contract at $35,000. But looking online at new ones that are out there, that there's nothing in Wisconsin, there's a few in Illinois, and they're coming in at, 45 to 48,000. So that's why I don't, until insurance says straight out, we're gonna give you $45,000, go find an Explorer, then yeah. But if they don't, I guess that's where I was coming, where are we gonna get? Do we
That's
wanna
why they
take
were-
the ARPA funds?
That's why they were looking though at the values of the used cars?
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I would hate to continue to have more discussion about assumptions. We need to have the facts about what the insurance company's gonna do.
Right.
So let's.
And I was
let's-
hoping to have
Yeah.
an answer, but they didn't come through today, so.
Even if you need to call a special meeting or something like that, I don't know that we would need that, but by our next meeting, we'll probably have that information, right?
I don't
Another-
even know if I wanna wait that
Another
long.
option would be
Because
to
we're down a car, so I guess
approve them to fill the gap.
whenever I guess I'm just looking, would the village board approve the gap that's if insurance doesn't cover the whole thing, plus we have to think if it's a different car, I'm gonna need all new equipment inside, because it's not gonna transfer over. A cage, a seat, the center console, all the lights.
Plus, you gotta how much, from the time that you can even get a car to get it done and set up, it took, what the heck, it took them 6 weeks to set up the last squad, didn't it?
No, once we got it, they had it done within a week. So they're quick, but they're gonna have to order the stuff though this time. This time they already had it ordered, and it was sitting at their shop waiting for the car to come in.
If we can't get a Charger.
Right, if we can't get a Charger.
So let's just assume we can't, and you gotta go buy an Explorer. You said you had budgeted 60,000.
To replace.
Replace it.
Yeah.
So, but is 60,000 sufficient for what you would buy if you had to go buy another Explorer? So if we set aside 60,000 of ARPA for you to go use.
Oh,
if
that'd
you-
be plenty, because insurance is gonna cover
Yeah,
most of it,
that's
I'm
just,
thinking.
I'm just,
Right.
and then you're not gonna use it, and then we'll put it back into the pile for ARPA, and we'll come back and figure out what the rest of it is.
Yeah.
But that way, tomorrow morning, you can pick up the phone and order the car.
Well, I'm looking, yeah, the issue is that you just can't order one. They're not taking orders, Ford is not taking orders until late spring, early summer. So I'm not putting in an order to replace the 19 until later this spring or early summer.
What about the order on the Charger?
I'm looking for something that is on somebody's lot, is what I'm looking at.
I-
So when I searched, when I threw it in Google, I mean, there's cars all over, and I can use an example. The township just bought a new Explorer down in Georgia, and they're shipping it up here for them. So that might be something that I have to do, because I can't wait for them to make me a car, because it could take 8 months. So I'm looking for something that is on a lot that nobody claimed, so.
All right, I'll make a motion that we set aside 65,000 of the ARPA funds and authorize the chief to go place an order for a car that he can find. If, I'm sorry?
If the one that you have is total?
Yeah,
If it is
If the
totaled.
one that you have is totaled.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, consideration of design proposal from Lynch and Associates for School Street reconstruction. Jason, because Tim's not here, right?
He is not. So we're looking to have a reconstruction of School Street, 2024. And I would like to get it designed this year, ready to go for bid for the first of the year. Sewer, water, curb and gutter, sidewalk on one side, and obviously reconstruct the street.
Make a motion to approve the design proposal for the School Street reconstruction from Lynch and Associates.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
One quick thing on this. Eileen, can you bring up a GIS picture of School Street, please? So I just want to get the board's feelings on something here, sidewalk. On School Street, there is a sidewalk down half of it on both sides of the street. With this reconstruction project, we're only proposing to do a sidewalk through its entirety on one side. And what I'd like is the board's thoughts on what we do with that other section that exists, essentially a sidewalk to nowhere. Do we just simply take it out so that no one maintains it, or do we leave it for future endeavors? My thinking is it's gonna be a long time before we get back to do another project on School Street. And I guess I'm not talking about just School Street, I'm talking about, procedurally going forward, how do we wanna handle this?
Is it gonna be the side by the lift station?
I don't know which side Lynch has said in his proposal north, but I'm not convinced of that yet, so that's to be
So this is what I would
determined.
determine. I would identify that we continue it on the side of the street by the lift station. It's the least inconvenience for residents within the community, because a large section of that road then is responsibility of the village itself. So, and the other side, where we have an extension of that sidewalk, no, I am not in favor of taking out sidewalks. I think sidewalks are there for a reason. We've been trying to, identify that we need this connectivity within our community. And it will be for a future endeavor that we want to do something as far as a sidewalk extending the length of that road. Is it in the plans now or 20 years from now? No. But we shouldn't just tear out sidewalks. I am not in favor of that.
Yeah, do we do a special assessment on the sidewalk?
So the repair, so just for instance, these existing sections are a 50-50 split on maintenance, so if there's squares that need to be replaced, it's 50-50.
Can you go west, please? Yeah, there's no sidewalk there on that south side between Church.
Which is why I suspect Lynch is favoring the north side. I don't know that, but because Tim and I haven't had a conversation about it yet.
But I tend to agree with Scott, because if you go, I'm sorry, Eileen, if you go back east, you see, to tie into that sidewalk there, you're gonna come across that property's driveway and they've got landscaping, like, that's gonna be a real problem there. I'd rather put the money into, back to the, west between Church and Division.
Yeah, and I think that if you look at the terrain there, there's a pretty steep hill coming up that area. And if you're gonna disturb any kind of land that needs fill or whatever else needs to happen, I'd rather have that happen on village property than on some residence property.
Understood. So then just going back to my original question, the consensus here would be is we don't want to remove any existing sidewalk, even if it's a sidewalk to nowhere.
Yep.
Okay,
If there's a trip hazard, it should be repaired.
correct.
So then your plan is to put the sidewalk on the north side?
I don't have a plan yet. That's what we'll have to figure out in design. From what I'm hearing, the board would much rather see it on the south side of School Street. I will take that, obviously, to design, but if there's an issue with it, I'll bring it back.
All right, moving on, consideration of wastewater treatment plant roofing project, funding and timing. Any questions?
Make a motion to authorize Jason an additional $30,000 for the project totaling $150, so he can combine the 23 and 24 projects and bid as one this year.
I will second that. Absolutely.
I had asked Jason if this was gonna be coming out of the wastewater treatment plant replacement fund, but Jason made a good point. You wanna explain what you told me, Jason?
So if you guys remember a couple years ago, DNR wants us to keep a certain level of funds in there, and we were deficient, so we just added those funds to it and decided to just kind of leave that alone. We made some adjustments in our operational budget so that we're not constantly taking out of the replacement fund.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, consideration of 2022 fund balance designation for general fund and capital project fund.
I am agreeable to the CDA facade grant designation, but I'm trying to figure out how to word my motion.
Well, you know, you could accept staff's recommendations.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the fund balance assignments and staff's recommendations.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. ARPA fund general discussion and direction to staff. So we already identified a little bit of money that could be allocated toward the cruiser. And I get some of the projects we have with roadways, rooftops, things like that we could do. But the one department that, in the time that I've been in this position, that always seems to get the shaft is Park and Rec. And I'd like to see a little bit of money in this ARPA put toward Park and Rec. They are always the first one to get cut as far as budgetary numbers go. So I'd like to see something that we're never gonna see again, possibly go their way to have something we could do for this community in the parks.
Okay, so that, I guess maybe you just cleared it up there at the end, I guess. So you're saying in the parks? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not talking, we don't have to do, this isn't like the monies we used to get from development where we had to do new parks. We have no requirement whatsoever on designation of these funds at all. They've completely deregulated every single penny of this stuff. So I think that if we've had some big ticket items that we thought that Park and Rec should have been able to get through, and I'm not talking splash pad, but other things that might be good for our community, let's talk about doing that. Let's get that in our park systems.
So all of it? Is that what you're thinking?
I
or
think
just
you,
bring-
we don't have, we have a little bit of time here before we have to spend it. So I think you go to the Park and Rec. You don't tell them the amount, but say, hey, is there one of those big projects they wanted to do? Is there something that was on that list that it's like, darn it, I really wish we could have gotten that done. We just didn't have the money. We got cut on budget again. And see what it is and come back to us and say, hey, with the ARPA funds, Park and Rec would like to do this. If it's a $60,000 thing, great. If it's $100,000, great. We've got it. Let's do it. And figure out the rest after. Yes.
Yeah, and because as I was looking at this, this is an opportunity, as you said, to invest in things that we normally don't get to invest in. So, and then too, I know we've talked always about this building, and that always kind of, I know it's somewhere in the plan, but we always go, oh, well, you know, that's a little tight, or this or that. You know, and then worst case here, if we're, I don't think we would struggle, but, you know, if we're like, you know, maybe we use this to, you know, just go ahead and fund some of the projects we already have planned once we get through the park discussion to reduce our debt load that we're taking out next year. That way we're earmarking the funds. But one thing I just brought up, and Eileen mentioned in the memo, is I do a lot on ARPA for the county. If there is an opportunity for us to take these funds and invest it in anything that reduces our operating costs going forward, this is a great opportunity. So, you know, a lot of communities have struggled to make those types of investments. So I don't know what that is. Look to staff to help us with that.
Well, the big thing with the building now, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but we have been allocating funds for the time frame to do work on HVAC for this building.
Sure.
The renovations to the front entry, and a little bit of money for this boardroom, right? Just up here.
We have money reserved for the municipal building and fund balance. I should know the amount, I just worked on it, but I can't remember. There is an amount that's committed that was like $520,000 at the time for redoing the lobby and the HVAC. I would imagine that number's much more because that number's really old. And then we have an undesignated portion for the municipal building as well.
I think all in, it's like 675.
Okay.
And the one thing with the HVAC, I know that was last done by Mike Miller, and there was a lot of questions that I had about what that number.
You're
included.
referring to when it was bid?
Yeah, and that's where we got the original $400,000 to $500,000 that it cost to just do the HVAC in this
Yeah, I
building.
think that was all rooftop units, and there was a lot of structural work that went with that, so.
Which does not need to be done, so.
Plus, they were also gonna replace almost all the ductwork too.
Right, right. But either way, I think that we've got plenty of money in there, even with, you know, the market changing a bit. That is a crazy amount of money for HVAC in a building this size. I do this every day for a real job, and it's not a number that I would see for a building like this.
When are you working on capital, finalizing capital with Ellers?
Budget schedule's actually coming to you guys next week. I think we usually work on capital as a staff in May. I believe it's in May we start working on, or bring that to you guys.
I think you ought to treat this, minus what we were giving Jeremy, as capital. So, and what are you gonna spend it on as maybe a budget amendment for this year or next year?
The ARPA?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then let's talk about it. And I think that's how you get your Parks and Rec conversation in there. So, you know, with Vicky and what Parks and Rec as a committee think. And maybe you guys talk about that in your next meeting here this month.
Do you all set for that? Okay. Consider authorizing funds for airport runway obstruction project.
What are we obstructing, Jason?
The FAA.
Yeah, there's some trees in the approach.
My question is this seems to like, you know, these trees aren't growing that fast. And so they just seem to constantly find more trees in the obstruction zone.
It will be an ongoing thing. I mean, at both ends of the runway have, you know, there's trees within the I-43 corridor to the firehouse. They're all in that approach zone, and they've got to be below a certain elevation, and if they start to creep above it, it's our responsibility to go cut it down, being the airport owner.
Matt, are you assuming that the Bureau of Aeronautics is doing a comprehensive look at all of those trees every time they're out here?
Well, considering at one point they considered Highway L to be in the glide slope and the that zone, yes.
I will say we're likely in for more of this as we go through our master planning. You know, the BOA is gonna be around more, there's gonna be more flights in and out, and that's when they see these things.
I'll make a motion to approve the 5,000 from surplus airport funds to pay for the project.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. All right, on to reports. Booth Lake minutes from January 18th. Any questions?
How are things at the lake?
Good, we don't have any ice, though. We have, I think, 37,000 gallons of water, so, unfortunately, it only lasted a couple days. What?
No refunds.
No refunds, yeah. So, but good, the whole house has been remodeled. For the most part, we still have the basement to do, but, it looks great. Yeah, it really looks good.
How about airport from 11:14? Any questions? Make a motion to adjourn. Second. All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.